everybody? How is everybody doing? Welcome back here to another episode of the Just Ballin' podcast. Today, we're going to talk a little about the macro review of the NBA offseason. As of July 30th, we are going to go and put every single NBA team into kind of like a list, and we're going to say, did they get better this offseason, stay the same, or did they end up getting worse? And yeah, I also have like another tier as well, better by youth. So maybe they didn't make any drastic changes this offseason, but I just think the internal development of the team, maybe them relying on the young guys, they could just be better without really making any drastic out of the house moves and going out externally and getting somebody. So yeah, we're gonna put every single team here. Maybe the team got worse, maybe they stayed the same, which I don't know which tier is gonna have the fewest. And I think doing this on the spot is a little bit more fun just because we really have no idea, or at least I have no idea how many I'm going to have in each tier. We'll start off, and shout out to Hoop Code. That's the website. I'm kind of throwing these in. But we'll start off with the NBA champions. Why not? The OKC Thunder, who this offseason basically traded away Dylan Jones to the Washington Wizards because they didn't have room for him. They drafted Thomas Sorber, kind of in a position they needed, at least even in the short term and in the long term. I know they re-signed Jalen Williams. They re-signed the other Jalen Williams. They re-signed Chet Holmgren. But last year, we saw Chet, Hartenstein, even Jay Will all suffer an injury at some point. And J-Dub was asked to be a center. Now, I don't think Thomas Sorber is probably going to play for them in the playoffs next year. And if he does, that means they definitely had a ton of injuries. So that's probably not a good thing. But either way, I do think them getting Thomas Sorber is big. They're getting Nikola Topic to finally be healthy. Also, I'm not sure if there's a spot for Topic on a playoff roster. We'll see. Because if he's kind of like Josh Giddey was a negative player for the Thunder in the 24 playoffs, and they traded him for Caruso, and they don't even need Topic, right? Like, they won the NBA Finals without him last year, so we'll see. But if there was an injury to like a Joe or Dort, like they have more guard minutes. Brooks Barnheiser looks like a fun second rounder. I think I'm going to say the Thunder just got better by youth. I just think like Shea is basically in his prime. Chet just finished up his second year and had a serious hip injury earlier in the year. And I think finished the season off on a strong defensive note. And there's so much room for improvement offensively, which makes him such a scary player. J-Dub is still fairly young. Like I said, the Topic edition, we'll see how he looks. Cason Wallace going into year 3. Maybe, I don't think anybody's got like a prime regression next year. Like if I just kind of pull up their roster, everybody is like it's crazy. Everybody but Caruso and Kenrich Williams are sub 30. So maybe there is a Caruso. I just don't think so. Like I still think Caruso is in his prime. He's got a 4-year extension kicking in. I mean, this team's still going to be great in 2026. They didn't get like, I think significantly better. Like they won 68 games last year. I would be shocked if they won more than that next year, but they did win 68 games with Chet and Hartenstein missing a decent chunk of the season. So I'm going to say they just got better by youth, but maybe I bumped them up, but I think that's fine. I think the Minnesota Timberwolves are kind of interesting because the Timberwolves this offseason lost Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Now, can Terrence Shannon Jr. or Jalen Clark fill the void? I think those are still big shoes to fill. They brought back Randall. They brought back Naz Reid. They lost Josh Minot. I think you're okay with that with Clark and Shannon. They lost Luka Garza. They drafted Johan Berenjay. We'll see how Rob Dillingham is going to look in year number 2 as well. You have an elite player in Jaden McDaniels who could get better. Now, I am a little scared for the Minnesota Timberwolves because we could see a little bit of regression, definitely to Mike Conley, where maybe at a point he's unplayable. Rudy Gobert is 33 years old or going to be 33. Like Joe Ingles is really not going to be much of a player for them. I don't know if Leonard Miller with that jumper is really going to have a spot in the rotation next year. It's still a good team. I think the Timberwolves are probably going to be the same. I think they're going to... I don't know. Like, did they get slightly worse or did teams around them just get better? I'm going to put them in the same tier for now. Like, I definitely don't think they got better this offseason. And maybe, like, because of Ant's age, because of McDaniel's age, and, like, Dillingham and Shannon Jr. have to be somewhat better next year. Maybe they will be better by default. But right now, I'm going to say they pretty much get the same. They lose Naw, which I can't confidently say that Terrence Shannon Jr. is going to be as good as what Naw was the last 2 years next year. But I'll offset it a little bit just because I trust Ant to maybe go up a little bit. DiVincenzo and Randall a little bit more comfortable there going forward. But they're a team that didn't have, I think, like if I'm remembering correctly, the worst injury luck last year. All right, let's talk about the New York Knicks. I gotta say the Knicks probably got better. Now, better doesn't mean like they're better than the Thunder or the Timberwolves, but the Knicks right now basically didn't lose anybody of note. They could still bring back Shamet or DeLon Wright, but like those were the end of the bench guys in the rotation. But they brought in Jordan Clarkson. I think Clarkson to Shamet or Shamet to Clarkson isn't a massive upgrade. I'm not going to say that it is. He's a better initiator. You can trust him a little bit more with the ball in his hands, but Shamet's probably a better shooter, maybe a better defender. But getting Gershon Yabusele is a lot better than, I think, Precious Achiuwa, at least offensively, from last year. Maybe you get a little bit of youth development from a Deuce McBride, a Mitchell Robinson, or an Ariel Hukporti next season. But this Knicks team is pretty much in their prime. Now, if this was like the Knicks team 3 years from now, 2 years from now, I'd be a little bit scared about a 32-year-old Josh Hart, a 32-year-old Cat, maybe OG on the other side of 30, but everybody's pretty much 28, 29, or 30 and in their prime right now. Like, this is the Knicks team that is going for a title in 2026, and they were a 2 seed or a 3 seed last year. They made it to the conference finals. I do think they got better this offseason. It's marginally better. They got slightly better. And then I think Mike Brown to Tibbs, you could say that's a downgrade. It's so tough with head coaches, right? But I don't think Mike Brown is going to make them worse. I think it's either going to be the same. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, yeah, like what we don't realize, and Tibbs overplaying the starters helps Brunson become like the most comfortable guy in the clutch when he's played 36 minutes or 40 minutes and they're in overtime, right? But I do think the Knicks got better this offseason. They have, I think, another roster spot to add as well. I'm not convinced that they're going to get much out of Tyler Kolek or Pacomi Dadier next year, but this is like another full year with Bridges and Cat. I think the Knicks got better in a healthy Mitchell Robinson, who's actually going to have a training camp and a preseason to ramp up for next year's season. We'll see what they do, though, because usually when the Knicks have free agents like this, they trade them. And I assume they're going to extend Mikal Bridges, but I don't know what's going on with Mitchell Robinson, given that the Knicks, after the Bridges extension, are going to be flirting with the second apron in 2027. Let's bounce around a little bit from what this order is. Let's talk about like the Miami Heat. I think they're a fascinating team this offseason. So the Miami Heat ended up trading for Norman Powell for basically kind of nothing, right? Like Kyle Anderson and Kevin Love, like that's a great pickup for them. They basically go from Duncan Robinson to Simone Fontecchio, bring back Davion Mitchell. They lose Kyle Anderson, Kevin Love, and Duncan Robinson. Like, I don't think that's a massive loss whatsoever. They add Kasperi Shakuchonis in the draft. Bam really can't be much worse than what he was last year in the first half. I think Wiggins can still be a consistent player for them. Are they going to get anything out of Rozier? Probably not. And Ware could take improvements. Jaquez can't be much worse. I mean, I think like by default, the Heat probably got better this offseason. Did they get better from last year? Like before the year? Maybe not, because like you still take Jimmy Butler over a Norman Powell or Andrew Wiggins or anybody like that. But I think I trust at least a little bit of progression from a Pele Larson, a Jovic, a Kalel Ware. Like I said, Bam can't be much worse. And I do think them adding Norman Powell helps them out a ton because, man, they did not have a lot of shot creators last year. And I think getting Norman Powell is a lot better than having Duncan Robinson in that role specifically. And you take a flyer on Fontecchio. I loved Kasperi Shakuchonis in the draft. You guys know that. I do think they got better this offseason for sure. An easy one here, we could just kind of bang out the Denver Nuggets. They 100% got better this offseason. This is a team that traded away Michael Porter Jr. for Cam Johnson. I think Cam Johnson's a better player, or at least a better system fit than what Michael Porter Jr. was for them last year. And they also were able to use that financial flexibility by swapping those guys to get Bruce Brown on the minimum, to get Tim Hardaway Jr. on the minimum, and to trade away Dario Saric for Jonas Valanciunas, who is a massive upgrade over Saric, Zeke Naji, or DeAndre Jordan. You're getting De'Ron Holmes back. Got to consider that as well. There's a little bit of youth development of Peyton Watson, but more so Strother and Christian Brown. And I think this team is going to be great next year. You could take into account like Aaron Gordon, but like Aaron Gordon's hamstring injury, he should be fine next year. Jokic is in the middle of his prime still. Jamal Murray got off to a bad start after a bad Olympics. I don't think he's going to be much worse. And maybe Zeke Naji could be better. I don't think that really matters at this point, given the depth this team had. Even though they lost Russ, like that is going to be a noticeable loss. I think they got better this offseason for sure. Next up, we could talk about the Chicago Bulls. Chicago Bulls probably got worse this offseason. I mean, by default, I just think they're going to be worse next year. So they traded away Lonzo for Isaac Okoro. They re-signed Trey Jones. I assume that Nikola Vucevic is not going to be on this team. And this team should want to get worse. I don't think they're going to trade Kobe White. Maybe there's an out of Sunmu trade in February. So I think this is more so we're locked into this Bulls roster, which, I mean, it's not bad. It should be worse. Like, I think they would want to be worse. I don't know if they're getting much internal development from like a Jalen Smith. I mean, Patrick Williams can't be much worse next year. I think Noah Essengate isn't going to be a great rookie or a great player for the amount of minutes, but you don't care. You worry about the reps, the opportunities, the touches for him to develop right now as a teenager. And I'm really excited about Matas Buzelis. I mean, you could put them in the same because like they didn't really lose anybody this offseason. But I do think, I don't know, maybe the Bulls, like this is a tough one, right? Did the Bulls are they worse or are they the same? I'm going to put them in worse for now, but maybe I end up changing them when I kind of evaluate this down the line as well. Let's talk about the Utah Jazz. I probably want to say the Jazz got worse this offseason, but they got more exciting. And they definitely, I think, made the right moves. I love them getting Ace Bailey, who's going to have his ups and downs, but you lose John Collins for Kyle Anderson. John Collins, you traded for Kyle Anderson and Kevin Love. Kevin Love's either bought out or he's going to get bought out. Kyle Anderson is still a fine player. Collins is better. You traded away Sexton for Nurkic. Hey, you probably need another backup big man. I think Sexton's a better player, but like Nurkic playing 12 minutes a night behind Walker Kessler, fine. It is what it is. You waived Johnny Uzang. You waived Jordan Clarkson as well. And you took an NBA-ready guy in Walter Clayton. We'll see how Ace Bailey looks. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs with this young team, but I do think they got quote-unquote worse this offseason. I don't know, though. They were the worst team in the league last year. Like, they're probably going to win more games, you would think. I mean, they have a deep young rotation. Like, Hendricks will be healthy, Sensabaugh, the improvement. I don't know. Like, did they get that much worse? Probably. I don't know, though. They're an interesting one. You guys can let me know in the comments about the Jazz. Let's see. Who else do I want to do next? I think we'll talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. I want to say the Cavs either are the same or I don't think the Cavs got worse at all. I mean, the Garland injury is a little scary, but there's still room for improvement for Evan Mobley, which is scary. Like, he's a great player. Brought back Sam Merrill. I like Larry Nance. They needed some backup guard depth. I would say Jerome is definitely a better player, or at least a more reliable player than Lonzo Ball, given his age or his health history. And yeah, you didn't really need Isaac Okoro with all the wings that you had right now. And you drafted Tyrese Proctor. Yeah, I'm going to say they're pretty much the same. I do think like Lonzo Ball and Larry Nance are probably like a net neutral from losing Ty Jerome and Isaac Okoro. I think Larry Nance is an underrated player in this league. So I like what the Cavs did this offseason. They won 64 games. I think they're going to be in prime position to probably win 64 games or around that next year. The Detroit Pistons are an interesting one. Because they're an interesting one because they have so much young depth. And you have to think that Asar Thompson's going to be better now that he's healthy going into the year. You're going to assume that Ron Holland can take some type of leap. Is there another leap for Cade Cunningham? Ivy will be healthy, but coming off an injury. Now, right now, I'm not going to pencil in Malik Beasley on their team next year because of the gambling situation. You bring back Paul Reed. You bring in Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson. I think those could be hits. They could be misses. I think them losing Dennis Schroeder will be a little impactful. Same with Tim Hardaway Jr. You know what? I don't love the Pistons offseason. I don't hate it. They didn't have a first round pick. I'm just going to say they stayed the same. They won 44 games last year. I think they're going to be in that ballpark again. Hey, maybe there's a leap for somebody here. Maybe it's a Duren leap. Maybe it's a Ivy Asar leap for sure. Maybe it's another Cade leap. I slightly want to put them in better by youth. Oh man, they're a tough team to put here. You know what? I'm going to say the Pistons got better by youth because I do think that there are steps for, like, I think losing Schroeder, Hardaway Jr., and Beasley for basically like Chaz Lanier, Duncan Robinson, and Karis LeVert is a slight, it's a downgrade, but I think how much young talent they have, they're going to get better next year because of that youth in a way. Maybe it doesn't result in more wins, but it does. I think it results in them having more talented players. We could talk about the Lakers. Okay, so the Lakers are also an interesting one. Because you can make an argument the Lakers got better this offseason, right? So, like, they lose Dorian Finney-Smith, which kind of stinks for them after giving up multiple seconds for half a season of him. They bring in DeAndre Ayton, Jake Arabia, and Marcus Smart, and they lose Jordan Goodwin, Trey Jameson, Shake Milton, and Dorian Finney-Smith. They drafted Adu Thero. I like that as well. Luka might be more in shape. Now, they do have some older players that could be a little bit worse next year. I mean, who knows with LeBron? He's going to be 41 in December. But nobody else is really super old that they're relying a ton on outside of maybe Marcus Smart, who I don't think you should really have that much faith in anyway. Like, what you can get out of him is great. If he can be slightly better than Jordan Goodwin or Gabe Vincent, you take it. But you got to say at least adding Aiden is better than having Hayes, more so offensively. Vanderbilt will be healthy. Contract year, Austin Reeves. Luka, full offseason with the Lakers. It's just like their second best player, LeBron James, is 41. And who knows how he looks next year, right? They're a tough team. Like, do I think the Lakers got better this offseason? They probably did, right? Like, I still don't think the Lakers are a great team, but I think you can make an argument they got better. They're an interesting one if I want to bump them down to same. Because, like, I wonder what JJ Redick's going to do. He's going to have more depth. And I don't want to put too much faith in, like, a Hero, like a second rounder, although I do think he's NBA ready. Like, Dalton Connect might be worse next year for this team. Like, Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber can give them something. We'll see. Going forward. But maybe also Hashimura in a contract year, they can get something out of him as well. I'll say the Lakers got better, but I may change that. I think the Clippers got better. Yeah, the Clippers definitely got better probably, right? Just because I know they got older, which isn't great. Now, maybe their future isn't as brighter, but there's no, like, terrible contracts. They brought back Batum and Harden, which they kind of had to do. They lose Norman Powell for John Collins. They basically waived Drew Eubanks, trade away Norman Powell, bring in Chris Paul, Brook Lopez, John Collins, Bradley Beal, Yannick Niederhauser, Kobe Sanders. They brought in Ty Washington. I think the Clippers got better. I know this is an older team, but Kawhi was hurt last year in the first half. Kawhi could be healthier next year. It's a big if for sure. Chris Paul played 82 games, and he just needs to be better than, like, Ben Simmons, Chris Dunn in a way, but you still have Chris Dunn. You have Derrick Jones Jr. in his prime. Brook Lopez, I don't think he's going to be better. Like, he's not going to put up the numbers close to what he did last year because he's going to play, like, a third of the minutes because you have an all-star caliber big man in Ivica Zubac. I mean, Bogdan Bogdanovic was a good shooter for you. John Collins, like, his numbers aren't going to look as flashy either, but I really like the addition for the Clippers. There could be some regression to Kawhi or Harden. I mean, Beal is still a good player. Like, his numbers won't be as flashy, but I do think the Clippers got better because they do need depth, and I think they added to that this offseason. I think the Houston Rockets got better this offseason. I think this, yeah. So the Houston Rockets for sure got better this offseason. They added Kevin Durant, maybe the most impactful acquisition this offseason. They ended up trading away the 10th overall pick, Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green. Now, we'll have probably a longer talk about the Suns if they got better or worse this offseason, but I do think, like, the Rockets, I mean, I love them bringing back Steven Adams. Obviously, he was great for them with the double bigs. You bring in Clint Capella just in case there's an injury to Steven Adams. If he doesn't want to play back-to-backs, you have, like, Jayshawn Tate, Jeff Green, Aaron Holiday, guys that have been there, culture guys. You also bring in Josh Okogie. We'll see if he makes the roster. J.D. Davison, Dorian Finney-Smith was a big pickup for this team this offseason as well. I don't think Cam Whitmore is going to be a major loss. You have Şengün, who was a 22-year-old all-star last year. Amen Thompson is obviously going to improve next year. And Reed Shepherd can't be worse. Jabari Smith Jr. is a big X factor for this team. They were a 2 seed, and I do think this roster is better on paper for the 2026 season. I trust Ime Udoka. I trust Raphael Stone. And I think the depth is a lot better. Losing Dylan Brooks, I think, will hurt. I think you'll miss a little bit of Jalen Green's offensive production, but I do think Kevin Durant is a massive upgrade. And if now you're expanding Tari Eason's role defensively, you're fine with that. Like, Tari Eason and Amen Thompson can guard other teams' best players. You were able to rework Fred VanVleet's contract to, like, work some of this stuff out as well. I assume Kevin Durant's going to sign an extension this offseason. I like Clint Capella more than Jock Landale, so I do think the Rockets got better this offseason. I just don't want to put so many teams in better. I don't know. Maybe I drop the Knicks down. We'll see. Because I feel like a lot of these teams ended up getting better this offseason. Let's talk about a team that I think got probably worse this offseason. The Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets are okay getting worse, and I think it's going to be a good worse. It's like the Utah Jazz, right? You at least move on from Cam Johnson. D'Angelo Russell's in Dallas. Some of those veterans are gone, right? Like Trendon Watford's with the Sixers, even though he's still fairly young. You brought back Day'Ron Sharpe, but I do think the excitement of the young core is well worth it. This is a team that should try to have a bottom 5 or a top 5 pick in 26. You waited 5 first-round picks, and we know, especially with these guards, there's going to be some efficiency issues. They're going to turn the ball over. There's going to be lapses defensively, but it's at least more intriguing than I think the 2025 Nets, who maybe had like the worst young core in the league for a bad team, for sure. Now you at least have some names there. Noah Clowney didn't shoot the ball well last year. Terrence Mann is like a solid player. Michael Porter Jr. is a solid player. And I think they're going to bring back Cam Thomas. Still TBD on that. They could make a trade. We'll see. I think they got worse, though, because they definitely exceeded expectations last year. Shout out to Jordy Fernandez. Next up, we have the Boston Celtics. I guess this is an easy one, right? They definitely got worse this offseason. You traded away Kristaps Porzingis for basically George Niang. You lose Jason Tatum. You trade away Drew Holiday for Anthony Simons, who I do think is somewhat of an inferior player. And then you had basically Luka Garza, Josh Minot. You have somewhat of a raw prospect in Hugo Gonzalez getting significant minutes for this team. I can't really trust a 38-year-old Baylor Shireman next year to really take a massive leap for this team that can offset some of the loss of Jason Tatum's scoring. I still think they're going to be a competitive team. I can't confidently say they're going to go above 500. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I do think they'll be competitive. They definitely got worse this offseason, more so stuff out of their control. And I'll say the same thing for the Indiana Pacers, a team that was in the NBA Finals. Now, they are a little bit more intriguing, in my opinion, than the Boston Celtics, just because could we see a Nembhard leap? Could we see a Nesmith leap? Could we see a Benedict Mathurin leap? Could we get some production out of Jay Huff, Isaiah Jackson returning from injury, James Wiseman returning from injury? What about a Jarris Walker leap? What about a Ben Shepherd? What about a Johnny Furphy leap? I just think there's more intriguing young names in Indiana than there are in Boston, but losing Tyrese Halliburton and Miles Turner is going to be a massive blow to this team. Another team that could be a fringe playing team or a playoff team. I think they're going to finish below 500. They definitely have more depth than Boston, because I go back and forth. Who do I like more between Boston and Indiana next year? It just sucks that Halliburton and Tatum are out for the whole year. Or at least definitely Halliburton. I don't think it's been confirmed for Jason Tatum. But I'm going to say the Pacers for sure got worse this offseason. You lose Miles Turner. Maybe you can replace him in the aggregate. It's easier said than done. And there's really no replacing Tyrese Halliburton. It's an 82-game season. TJ McConnell was a phenomenal playoff riser this year, but it's a different beast sometimes in the regular season in terms of how much of a marathon it really is. So next up, we could talk about the Sacramento Kings. I mean, the Kings really, like, I don't know. Could they swing a move for Jonathan Kuminga? I don't know if that makes me think they got better or worse this offseason. They did add Dennis Schroeder. I don't know, man. Like, I love their draft, right? I love Nick Clifford and I love Maxime Reynal. I don't know how much Maxime Reynal will actually play. Now, they're kind of getting like a new rookie. I know he played last year, but Devin Carter was hurt and debuted in January. I kind of like Jake LaRavia in the second half for Sacramento. I do think they should have tried to match that. Now, they moved Valanciunas for Sarge to create the money to sign Dennis Schroeder. A little bit of an overpay, but not a guaranteed deal. They bring back Doug McDermott. They've been trying to move Malik Monk, which I don't really agree with. Now, this is a hot take, but I would think about trading Keon Ellis this offseason because, one, I do think his value, I mean, I would test the market first. Maybe it would have been wise to move him last year, but he's making $2.3 million. It's nothing, right? But Keon Ellis could be the next version of an Alex Caruso for a contender, and I do think Alex Caruso, being what he was for OKC, can help Keon Ellis' value, and Keon Ellis' value is probably going to come within the next 5 years, in which I don't think the Kings are competing for a title in the next 5 years. So I do think you can get some really good either draft capital or an intriguing name. Like, this is a hot take, but I'd rather have Jonathan Kuminga than Keon Ellis. Now, it really depends the dollar figure for Jonathan Kuminga, but I do think there's upside here, and that's what Sacramento needs to take a swing on. You have these high floor role players that are young guys, like Devin Carter, in my opinion, high floor. Same with Nick Clifford, but lower ceiling than Kuminga. Same with Isaac Jones, same with Keon Ellis, same with Keegan Murray, that I'd rather them take a big swing because in 2 years, Levine and DeRozan are gone. You have, 3 years left of Domantas Sabonis, 2 years of Schroeder, 2 years of Malik Monk. I think you could try to build up Kuminga in a way if you really believe in it. Now, the Pelicans, the Bulls, the Kings, and the Suns being the teams interested in Kuminga, it's kind of funny because all of those teams have been kind of poorly ran over the last 3 or so years. But that's a hot take for me. That's a hot take. I would live by that. I think they need somebody with the ceiling of Kuminga. That's still there, although it's a big risk. It really is. So I think the Kings, to wrap a bow on it, I just don't know how much young development. I do think Devin Carter will be better. I think Nick Clifford is going to be a good rookie. They get a true point guard, something that Malik Monk wasn't the best with the workload increase after the Fox trading kind of getting thrown out there. I think Schroeder's a good point of attack defender. Better than Malik Monk. Obviously, Levine doesn't need to be that for them. DeRozan's getting a little bit older. I kind of want to say they got the same this offseason, which was a team that missed the playoffs last year, and I think they could be in that range yet again. I think the Orlando Magic got better this offseason. So they lost Caleb Houston, so I don't know. Although I do like Caleb Houston. They re-signed a lot of their guys, but they bring in Desmond Bane and Tyus Jones. They needed 2 things this offseason: ball handling and shooting. They add Jace Richardson, Tyus Jones, Desmond Bane, Noah Penda. I mean, they lose a little bit of depth in Cole Anthony, KCP, and Gary Harris. Cole Anthony was probably the best out of that 3 last year, but KCP was such a negative player for them. It just didn't work out. They had to trade a lot of draft capital, but you got a great player in Desmond Bane who can really fit this team. You have 3 solid centers with Mo Wagner returning. We'll see how he's going to look off the ACL tear, but you have Wendell Carter Jr., who has to bounce back, right? He can't be as worse or as bad as he was last year. You have Goga Badate, who everybody loves. And then Jonathan Isaac, hopefully could be a little bit better as well. I think Orlando got better, and you're good to see the youth improvement. Because, like, if they didn't trade for Bane, I probably would have said better by youth and by health. But I think they got better this offseason with the addition of Bane, Jace, and Tyus Jones. Next up, we could talk about the Atlanta Hawks, who definitely got better this offseason for sure. You had Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You had Kristaps Porzingis, which has its risks for sure. You lose Karis LeVert. You trade away Terrence Mann. Guys that were kind of good for you last year after the Hunter trade and Bogey trade. It's funny because, like, Terrence Mann and Bogey were so bad for their teams before the trade and really kind of fit better with the new environments. But getting Nickeil Alexander-Walker will be great. I love Luke Kennard if Kobe Buffkin doesn't take a step either. You lose Clint Capella, but you bring in Kristaps, Asa Newell. I think there could be a little bit of a leap for Mohamed Gay because you also lose Larry Nance. You waive David Roddy as well. So I don't think they got actually, no, they definitely got better this offseason. What am I saying? You're going to get Jalen Johnson healthy again. Trae Young can't be as inefficient as he was last year for the volume. Jalen Johnson coming back will help him. You have Dyson. You have year 2 Reece Tashe. They got better for sure. Next up, we have because we got what? We got 12 teams remaining. Let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. Oh boy. So I guess the Milwaukee Bucks, right? Did they get better this offseason? I mean, they were active, right? They did the biggest risk this offseason, stretching and waiving Damian Lillard. They didn't have a first-round pick, so they took a project in Bogoja Markovic in the second round. They didn't trade Giannis. You brought back a lot of guys. Livingston, Porter, Portis, Prince, Rollins, Jericho Sims, Gary Trent Jr. You bring in Cole Anthony on the buyout market. You bring in Gary Harris. Shout out to the former Magic. And Miles Turner will be better than Brook Lopez next year, who left you. Pat Connaughton's gone. Micic is gone. And you bring back Bobby Portis. I don't want to say that they got better. I'm going to say they're going to be roughly the same. Because do I want to take into account that Dame wasn't going to play, or I'm taking into account the team last year with Dame? I think either way, you could say they got better because they added way more depth. Kyle Kuzma can't be much worse. They still have a top 3 player in the world in Giannis. You get a better center in Miles Turner. You have, I think, an underrated player in Ryan Rollins. Maybe you get something out of Jackson, Andre Jackson, Tyler Smith, but probably not. AJ Green is still there. I'm a big fan of Ryan Rollins for sure. I'm glad they brought him back on a 3-year deal. Jericho Sims, depth piece. This isn't the sexiest team in the world. I don't think they're going to be a top 3 seed. I'm going to say they probably are similar than what they were before the season starts. But if you wanted to, or before last year, but if you want to put them in better, I could see that. I don't think they got worse this offseason. So next up, we'll do the Golden State Warriors. I guess they got worse as of now. Or maybe I'll put them in the same. Yeah, I'll put them in the same because they haven't really done anything. Who knows what they're going to look like after Kuminga? Are they trading Kuminga for one lower tier role player and some second round swaps? Or are they getting a Keon Ellis, right? For Kuminga, somebody in that realm. I guess you could say right now they got worse this offseason though. I mean, Kevon Looney left and they haven't added anybody. Now Steph is going to be 38 next year. Jimmy's going to be older. Draymond's going to be older. They didn't have a first round pick. Trace Jackson Davis, Quinn and Post, we kind of know what they are. They're 25, 24 years old. The guy that could improve the most is probably Pods, who had a horrible first half last year. I expect them to bring in Al Horford and D'Anthony Melton. Al Horford's going to be 40, or he's 39, and D'Anthony Melton's coming off an ACL tear. I don't think Gary Payton has been picked up yet. I believe his cap hold is still out there. It's funny, some of these cap holds that the Warriors still have. David West, Anthony Lamb, Jonas Jerebko, Andre Iguodala, JaMychal Green, Andrew Bogut, Nemanja Bjelica, Matt Barnes, Kevin Knox, Usman Garuba. It's kind of hilarious. Surprised Pat Spencer's not signed yet. I mean, they really just need to figure out what's going on with Kuminga. So actually right now, I'm just going to put them in the worst tier, but I think they can go to same. And everything really depends on Kuminga as well. So I think right now they got worse this offseason. I think the Charlotte Hornets got better this offseason. Actually, I'm pretty confident with that. Now, I know Josh Green might miss the start of next year's season, but they got so much depth. I love them going Nurkic to Sexton. Their defense was going to be bad in the interior next year anyway, and Nurkic isn't a good interior defender anymore. You add Spencer Dinwiddie, Colin Sexton, Pat Connaughton, and Mason Plumlee. Fine names. You bring back Trey Mann, who's basically an addition because he didn't really play last year. He was hurt for most of the year. Okogie loses some perimeter defense, but and you trade away Mark Williams. I love Conkinip on this team. I'm really excited about LaMelo Ball healthy. I'm excited probably the most about Brandon Miller healthy. Not really too excited about Miles Bridges. And then you also have like Kalkbrenner, Sion James, Liam McNeely. Obviously, there were some summer league standouts. Could you get something out of KJ Simpson or Nick Smith Jr. this year? Could you get something out of year 2 Tijon Salon? Could you get something out of starting Moussa Diabate or having him in the rotation? Their defense is going to be bad. Their rim protection is going to be bad. But you got Grant Williams coming back from the ACL tear. I think they got better this offseason for sure. So that gives me 9 teams in the better tier. For the San Antonio Spurs, I mean, they're a team that added Dylan Harper. So you added Dylan Harper, Luke Cornett. They traded for Kelly Olynyk. You added Wendy Waters. You re-signed Jordan McLaughlin. You drafted Carter Bryant. Now you lose Branham, Sandro Mamu Kelisheve. You lose Chris Paul, who played 82 games for you last year. And same thing with Blake Wesley. I'm going to say that the Spurs probably got better by youth, because is there another leap, which I think there is, for Wemby? Can we see a leap from Sohan? I think their young core was slightly disappointing last year outside of Stephon Castle. Like, Sohan could be better. Vassell could be better. Keldon Johnson could be better. They kept all those guys. Julian Champagnie could be better next year as well. Man, David Jones Garcia in the Summer League was electric. I mean, you're going to probably get some regression out of Olynyk or Harrison Barnes, but they're not going to ask them to play 30 minutes a night. They're going to play like 15 minutes a night. You add Dylan Harper, youth. Wemby can get better. Fox could get better. Who knows? We only saw a 5-game sample size with him and Wemby last year. And I like them adding Luke Cornett. You're going to miss Chris Paul, but hey, you're adding Dylan Harper, so you're okay with that anyway. They got better by youth this offseason. We'll talk about the Phoenix Suns. They're tough because low-key, I think the Suns could be more competitive next year. Although I don't think they're going to be great. So you lose Kevin Durant, right? Like, you lost your best player, second best player this offseason. You traded him away. But you had probably the worst center rotation in the league last year. At one point, it was like Yusuf Nurkic, Bol, Mason Plumlee. You get Nick Richards. You trade for Mark Williams. You get the best center in the draft in Kaman Maluach. You get Dylan Brooks, a great 3-and-D piece. You get Jalen Green, who's got some upside, man. He really does. I'm excited to see him next year. Bradley Beal's off this team. You bring in Nigel Hayes-Davis. You lose Tyus Jones, Cody Martin, Micic. You bring back Colin Gillespie. I loved Rasheer Fleming and Kobe Bryant in the second round. Maybe they end up getting Kuminga. I have no idea if they are by the time I'm recording this. You still have like Royce O'Neal as a trade piece, Grayson Allen as a trade piece, but Ryan Dunn, Oso Ighodaro. Like, there's a lot of names for improvement on this team. Like, Booker kind of got off to a bad start last year for his standards. I think he could be better. I mean, I worry about the backcourt defense with Booker and Green, but if you got like Dylan Brooks, Ryan Dunn, and like Kaman Maluach out there, like, that's pretty good defense to complement those guys. When at one point it was like Devin Booker, Grayson Allen, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant with Nurkic maintaining the paint, which is horrible defense. So I think their defense got better. They lost their best guy. I'm going to say that the Suns are kind of the same next year. I don't think they got worse this offseason. I know they lost their best player, but I think they filled in the holes very nicely. Given if you watch the Suns last year, Kevin Durant obviously meant so much to this team, but it's really them improving spots like 6 through 11 on this roster that I think will make them maybe even slightly better next year, honestly. Like, I could see that vision for sure. The Washington Wizards, I'm going to say they got better by youth. Now, they're going to be bad next year. Like, they're by far the worst team in the Spurs, Thunder, Pistons tier. But you also, like, you're going to have Middleton. I don't know if he's going to do anything. You bought out Smart. You traded Jordan Poole for McCollum, who's still a good player. Their big man rotation is not great. Like, I like Tristan Vucevic, but outside of Alex Sarr, there's not a lot going on right there. I don't think Cam Whitmore is going to be as good of a player as people think, but I'm very intrigued about year 2, George, Sarr, and Carrington. I'm very intrigued about Will Riley and Trey Johnson in their rookie seasons. You have Corey Kispert. Like, you have good shooting on this team. Can Bilal Coulibaly be like the point of attack, like, stopper for them defensively? AJ Johnson could give you maybe something next year. Champagnie is something. Like, I think they got slightly better by youth. I still think they're going to finish 13th, 14th, 15th in the East, but they'll be better than whatever they won last year, which was like 8. I don't think I could see how many games they won last year. It was like, I feel like it was sub 20 or sub 22. We'll talk about the Toronto Raptors. I feel like the Raptors, oh man, they're a tough team to figure out here, just because, I mean, they're probably getting better. You're adding Brandon Ingram basically this offseason, right? Because he didn't play for you. You bring in Sancho, Mamu Kelisheve from the Spurs. I mean, Temple is just a veteran leader. You re-sign Pirtle. You draft Conroy Boyles, who, I mean, you look at the, like, some stats show how bad the Raptors were scoring in the paint last year, and Conroy Boyles was great as a prospect at South Carolina. I mean, you can't be any more injured than you were last year, right? Like, Barnes, Ingram, Quickly, Barrett were all banged up. Grady Dick was really bad in the second half compared to the first half, but Jacoby Walter improved. I'm going to say the Raptors got better this offseason. I will. And I'm not even going to say better by youth because I think adding Ingram and a little bit better big man depth is huge for this team going forward. The Pelicans. What did Joe do? I mean, like, did they maybe fumble the future a little bit? Sure. But you can make an argument the Pelicans got better this offseason, and they also are going to be healthier next year outside of, like, Murray's injury. You brought back Herb Jones on a 3-year deal. Like, Sadiq Bey and Jordan Poole, maybe slightly better than Olynyk and McCollum. You bring in Kevon Looney. Like, this was, like, up there with the Suns as one of the worst big man rotations in the league last year. Big man groups outside of BC. It was like Tice, Robinson, Earl. And you bring in Looney, Derek Queen around BC. Bruce Brown leaves, never really gave you much. But I can make an argument, like, you can make an argument this team with Fears, who I don't think is going to be a great player in his rookie season. You added Micah Peavy. I think they got better. I don't know if I want to do better by youth. Or did they stay the same this offseason? Like, I think, do I want to say better by youth? But, like, they also added in some veterans this offseason. I'm going to say they got better by youth. Or did they just stay the same, I think? I don't know. I'm going to say they got better by youth. You could disagree. I think the Blazers got better this offseason. So you could also say they got better by youth, but they add Jan Hansen. I don't think he's going to be much as a rookie. We'll see. Hope I'm wrong. We'll see if it's like Robert Williams going to give him anything. I don't know. You lose Aiden. You bring in Drew Holiday. You lose Simons. You bring in Dame, who's not going to play for you. Bring in Blake Wesley. And you're going to hope that Scoot, Sharp, there's a leap for Denny still, another one, a Kamara leap potentially. I mean, this team brought in more grown-ups this offseason, and I think locker room guys, and that could be, as well, like addition by subtraction, buying out DeAndre Ayton. Could you get anything out of Ryan Rupert this year, or Chris Murray, or Matisse Thybulle? I think a lot of it just relies on Scoot or a Sharp massive leap this year. So I think they got better. I don't know if it's specifically to the youth going forward. Dallas is going to be without Kyrie till January. They bring in, what's his name? D'Lo to kind of be the bridge guy. They didn't trade PJ Washington or Gafford. There could be some regression to AD or Clay, although maybe a little bit more to Clay. I mean, Lively has room for improvement. Same with Hardy and Christie. And you just brought in Cooper frickin' Flag. I'm going to say the Mavericks got better this offseason. I don't think that's a shocker. Like, Caleb Martin was banged up for this team for most of the second half. So I think they'll get better. Philly, oh man. So you lose Gershon. Like, Edgecombe should be better than Gershon was last year for them, right? But, like, Edgecombe isn't going to have, I think, as much opportunities. So you bring back Edwards. I mean, Gordon and Lowry are just locker room guys. Embiid should be healthy. We'll see. I mean, Paul George already had another injury this offseason. You bring in Trenton Watford, who I like. You bring in Janai Broom and VJ Edgecombe. Year 2 with Dembona. Year 2, Justin Edwards. Jared McCain's coming back healthy. Hopefully he's okay. Quentin Grimes, I assume, is going to be back. I think Philly might be better by youth next year. And like a little bit, I could also do like youth/injury because like the Pelicans and the Sixers, they do have some guys that should be better, but also healthier. Like hopefully Zion's healthier next year as well. So I think Sixers got better by youth. They're still probably not a round 2 team in my opinion. They could definitely make the playoffs. And then Memphis is also an interesting one. Like you could say that Memphis got worse this offseason, but did they? Like I know they lost their third best player in a trade for some draft capital. KCP, I think, could be better next year. You brought back a lot of your guys in Aldama, Triple J, Cam Spencer, and you also brought in Ty Jerome. So, like, we know there could be some injuries to Ja. Bang, one of the best backup point guards in the league. Now, you do lose Cole, Anthony, but that was in a trade. Bane, Kennard, Huff, and Zion Poland. You drafted Cedric Howard. You have Jalen Wells and Edie going into year 2. Gigi Jackson will be hopefully healthy to start off the year. Now, Edie might be banged up in Triple J to start off the year. So, I mean, this team has the worst offseason injury luck I've ever seen. But I'm going to say that Memphis is probably going to be the same. Like, yeah, they lose their third best player in Bane. Yep, there's an injury to Triple J. But Ja was so good in the second half. They can get something out of Cedric Howard if he's healthy, hopefully. I think Wells can improve a little bit. Edie, I'm not going to put too much stock into because of the injury. Gigi Jackson should be better. You add Ty Jerome this offseason. You add KCP. Like, I really don't think the Grizzlies are that much worse than what they were a year ago. You could say they got slightly worse. I just think the rest of the West got better around them. So that is going to be it. I will recap this here, especially for you guys on audio. I have 12 teams in the better tier. They got better this offseason. That includes the Knicks, the Heat, the Nuggets, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Rockets, the Magic, the Hawks, the Hornets, the Raptors, the Blazers, and the Mavericks. Now, better by youth also could be like you lost some pieces this offseason, but you also have young guys that can develop, or you just have the young guys and you didn't do anything a la the OKC Thunder. But I think the OKC Thunder got better by youth. The Spurs, the Pistons, the Wizards, and then the Pelicans and the Sixers could also be more so on health as well. The Pelicans had the worst injury luck last year, and the Sixers weren't far behind them. I think these teams roughly stayed the same. Like, they're going to be in a similar tier than what they were a year ago. The Timberwolves, the Cavs, the Kings, the Bucks, the Suns, and the Grizzlies. Some of them was by, like, just little moves, like the Timberwolves and the Cavs. Other ones were drastic changes, like the Bucks and the Suns. And then I think they got worse this offseason. The Bulls, which you could say they kind of stayed the same. I'm okay with that as well. The Jazz, the Nets, the Celtics and the Pacers, obviously because of the injuries, and the Golden State Warriors because of the lack of moves they have made so far. And that is going to be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the Just Ballin' Podcast. If you guys are listening on audio, I really appreciate you leaving a rating or review. It really helps the pod grow. And I really appreciate the support you guys have been showing this offseason. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button if you're not already. And you can go check out the audio. It will be in the YouTube description. So if you ever want to listen to this on a walk, car ride, etc., you can find it over there, and I'll catch you guys during Friday's YouTube exclusive. So for you guys on audio, every Friday here in the off season, I've been uploading quiz videos to the YouTube channel where it's just kind of like a YouTube exclusive. So you can go check those out. Fun quiz on Friday. Catch you guys there. Peace.